Why is Election Day in the US not a federal holiday? Most normal workers don't get a federal holiday off to begin with anyway. In other countries it's sorted by having up to a week that you can go vote. No holidays needed. Fits your schedule better. As I remember, it was supposed to be, but it isn't anymore. I think the common explanation is voter suppression. Because if it was a holiday, the working poor would vote more. A federal holiday gives federal workers a paid day off, but it doesn't inherently do anything beyond that. For some of them, it's universally observed by state and local governments in addition with heavy private sector observance as well, such as Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, 4th of July, etc. For others, some states and local governments don't offer a paid day off, and there's minimal private sector observance such as Columbus Day, Veterans Day, Juneteenth, etc. We hold elections on Saturdays here in Australia, with lots of time for early voting and postal voting. Can only assume voter suppression is a big reason for how the US does it. It's not like that would help. Federal holidays aren't some mandatory day off. Only the ones with major cultural tradition. Christmas, for example, or very popular ones, Memorial Day, are even common days off outside government and bank employees. It's really only government employees who get President's Day off, for example. And even on some of those big holidays there are plenty of people who have to work more because their industry caters to all the office workers who are off. Memorial Day sales are super common. Plus there are tons of essential workers in emergency services, healthcare, military, security, etc., who can't give everyone a holiday. I've never understood Reddit's obsession with making Election Day the new Martin Luther King Day or Columbus Day or Veterans Day. More vote by mail, early voting, and other solutions would be much more effective at making things easier. In New York, at least, you're allocated a certain number of hours to vote. I forget the exact number, but if your work schedule conflicts with voting hours, you're entitled to a certain number of paid hours off to go vote. Most polls are open 12 hours on Election Day, though, so you can also fit in an 8-hour workday without it conflicting. Because half the politicians in the US only want people that are so wealthy that they can make their own hours work. Keeping voting from being a work holiday is just one step. They are also doing everything in their power to stop mail-in voting, early voting, absentee voting, make it so you need to buy a special ID from them to vote, that they can refuse to sell you, and limit public access to information on the history of public officials so it becomes all about who has the better advertising. If they had their way, only people with 7-figure incomes would be permitted to vote. Because Republicans know that would mean more people of color voters, which means more Democrat voters. And it would increase voter turnout. It seems like you answered your own question then. Because Republicans don't want you to vote. Voter suppression. 50% of the people in power don't want it to be easier for the public to vote. Because they don't want poor people to vote. There's a not insignificant proportion of politicians who actually fear greater voter turnout. It would wreck their chances of getting elected. We don't care much for democracy in these parts. Just in the other parts of the world. The people who are the most underrepresented at the polls are exactly the people who are most likely to have to work on a holiday anyway. Because it would increase voter turnout, especially among minorities. Why not do it on a weekend?
If you enjoyed this video, Please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.